That's
We're
okay.
supposed to be going live during it, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try. That's okay though. That's okay.
we're live.
We are live finally. 2 seconds here. Donnie Darko thing was cool. Wait, whoa, 1 second. Mike, would you? Sorry.
That's okay.
2 more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna go into the rodent coil
Yeah,
briefly. I think that's a good place to start.
yeah. So, okay, the rodent coil is it's a closed loop system. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when you got a regular coil, like like a tubular type coil with the core in the center with wire, that's open ended. So that means the flux is allowed to flow outside of the coil confines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's creating this field, but you could also look at it is actually still a toroid, like a rodent coil. Basically,
It's just a
it's a
long
rodent.
toroid.
Well, no, it's a rodent coil cut in half, spliced in half,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you take the bottom end and you roll it all the way back to the top, that's your rodent coil. So basically, an open-ended coil is basically a toroid cut in half. Because if you look at the flux lines going on either side, you wrap those flux lines all the way around to each other. Boom, you got your toroid.
Hmm.
So that's the only real major difference between a rodent coil and a regular coil is the fact that it's in a donut shape, and that
Okay,
means that the flux.
how would you compare like a pancake by like the Tesla pancake coil,
Yeah,
uh the trifilar bifilar?
yeah.
How would you compare that to the
Apparently,
Tesla
apparent,
to
yeah,
that?
to the rodent coil, compare it
Mm-hmm.
to it. From what I understand, the fields are a lot greater in the Tesla pancake coil
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that the way the geometry is, it's a 2D object, right? So
Right.
therefore, when it generates the field, it's in a 2D form,
Mm-hmm.
where a rodent coil is actually a three-dimensional geometry.
Maybe it's a fourth dimensional coil.
It could be. As far as I understand, with a rodent coil, it's a three-dimensional closed loop electromagnetic flux generator, is what it is. And the center of it is basically where 0 point is. That's where you get your anti gravity. Now, also, Tesla did this back. Oh, he was showing this off to, I believe, a couple engineers, and I think he was also showing it to J.P. Morgan. Oh, sorry, no, he was showing it to Westinghouse. That
Mm-hmm.
if you create this toroid type coil arrangement and you pulse AC through it, you have basically a tornado flux spin in the middle. And that's when you put that egg, the brass egg, in the middle of that device, and it's spun
Right.
at a very high RPM. He says, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the electric induction motor,
Wow.
AC motor. No commutators, no brushes. It is
Right.
basically running on the field that he has created within the toroid.
Right.
So, and that was
Excuse
probably
me.
one of his biggest discoveries. It changed the whole industrial revolution overnight. That AC motor,
And
but
because the toroid is the shape of the universe, right?
well, it's the shape of anything that derives from an energy field. Like if you want to get back into, say, what Kenneth Shoulders was doing with the plasmoids. Well, the plasmoids are miniature ball lightning that's shaped like a toroid,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a huge amount of energy properties with it, and yeah, a lot of other effects go along with it too. Transmutation. It's basically the force of energy. It's the geometrical shape of the energy force of creation. And that goes
Right.
at the atomic level right to the universe, with, the sun or even a black hole. It's in a toroid because the center of the toroid is zero. It becomes, goes into, people claim, to the fourth dimensional reality of 0 point.
Right.
So I personally myself have not really dabbled too much with the toroid, rodent coil. I know some people that have and got some pretty amazing results with it, as well as one guy has been using it for actual health therapy, where he
Right.
pumps certain frequencies in it, and you put that rodent coil on your body part that's affected either by, say, skin cancer or cancers, or what do you call, arthritis and stuff like that. And apparently, if you get the right frequency, it starts eliminating the health ailment. Now, the problem is, and this is what the same problem that Wilhelm Reich had, was he was creating all these health effects using orgone, and then the next thing you know, he's got the FDA sniffing down his back, and the end result of that.
Yeah, there's
So
too much money made off the cancer industry, you know?
yeah,
Uh,
and today I just heard they found there's a fruit in northern Australia, and apparently it kills cancer. And I
well,
got the video link. I'll send that to you later. But anyways, it's a special fruit that only grows in northern Australia, and this extract from the fruit basically destroys a cancer tumor within 24 hours.
really.
Yep, like 24 hours, the tumor is destroyed,
Hmm.
and it comes from
Man,
and it comes from a fruit. Go figure.
I wonder if that country that place grows in needs some freedom, because the U.S. could invade right there and get rid of that problem real quick, you know?
Yeah, it's an exotic fruit. It only grows in Australia, in the northeast end of Australia, and they're doing some serious lab tests now. They did a whole bunch of tests on mice, and they did one test on the elder lady. She had like a cancerous tumor underneath, just right around the armpit region. And they injected this extract from the fruit into the tumor, and about 24 hours later, her tumor is completely gone.
Dude, I get this feeling that everything that we need is in nature already. Like
It
for
is.
example, we
It is.
if GPS pigeons have GPS, they mate for
Yeah.
life. They have this thing.
All
Electric
animals
catfish,
have it. All
yeah,
all
electric catfish,
animals.
or
Like,
I should say electric eel, which is a catfish.
well, here's
That's
another
how we
fact
learned
that,
about batteries.
yeah, and look at cows. They only eat facing north.
Really,
Yeah,
yeah.
a
And
cow. If
dung
you watch,
beetles,
yeah,
dung beetles, they
like
follow
if you watch a cow, and you got a compass with you, turn the compass in the direction that the cow is eating. It's always magnetic north.
man,
Now, why is that? That's the question. Why?
man. It's a question waiting to be
Because
answered. That's
it's
for sure.
because I'll tell you what it is. It's because the animals on this planet are connected to the planet. They're part of it. They're
When you
part
think about
of.
it in Australia, are they aiming towards the South Pole?
No, they face north.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead with why.
So what my point is us as a biological entity, we are connected to the planet. We just don't realize it. Okay, we are one with the planet. Like I said, we are made under a divine force that has this. Like I said, it didn't happen by accident. There had to have been some divine intervention to make such a complex system existence that we live in. This cannot happen just by chance. I do not believe that.
Right.
So, the animals, people, we're all connected to this planet through the universal consciousness. The plants are part of it, the animals are part of it, humans are part of it.
Yeah, and it's
Now,
all that same 432
yeah,
frequency, you know?
well, yeah, it's frequencies. You go back to Tesla, what he talks about continuously, and probably one of the most profound statements he ever said. And it seems I seem to always be going back. As soon as you understand what energy, frequency, and vibration is, you have the keys to the universe. A very, very simple little statement, but the implications are so profound.
Right.
Okay. And when you understand what he means by that, is we are one. We are all as one. We're the vibration, we are the energy, and we are the energy, we're the frequency, and we are the vibration of this existence.
Right.
Beings that come from the fourth dimension are not. They run on a different set of rules or science or the biological sense of their anatomy. That's why they're
Do you mean hypothetically like archangels, that kind of thing?
just angels, spirits, whatever you want to call them. They're
Mm-hmm.
part of a fourth dimensional reality. Now, the thing is, with the fourth dimensional reality, they can move back and forth. They can transit between the fourth dimensional reality to the third dimensional reality. But the thing is, their biology is geared towards the fourth dimensional reality. That's why when they come into our reality, they can fly, they can go several thousand miles per hour and then churn on a dime. It's because their existence, the fabric of what makes them what they are, runs
Mm-hmm.
on a different set of rules.
Right.
Okay? So that's why they're able to come into our reality and do all this amazing stuff and say to a native 5,000 years ago, these were gods. That's the
Sure.
only way they were depicted as gods. And if you look back at all the Egyptian history, the Aztecs, just to name a couple, they always depict these people coming from the heavens, and they were always depicted as gods, which in actual fact, they probably are gods, but to those people, they wouldn't say, oh, that's an alien. Well, they didn't know what an alien is. It wasn't in their vocabulary. So to
Right.
them, the star people are gods. So because they're able to do so many different things in this third dimensional reality to a person that's from the third dimensional reality could never dream of doing,
Yeah.
because
Us,
we're not built
advanced
to do
science,
that.
yeah, advanced science you can't explain is indiscernible from magic, right?
Right. See, I was never into any of this stuff. I was just into the energy stuff. But as I got deeper and deeper into this stuff, it started branching me off into these different directions: orgone energy,
Me
Tesla,
too.
static electricity, scalar,
Yeah.
ancient technology that was lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of
uh,
that, okay, so the rodent coils, when they cross, like, I saw somewhere that the dude seems to say that the scalar wave is dependent on the toroid shape. And if you smash this into a star, you have these lines, and every time they cross, they're crossing out the magnetic field and making it like a radiator.
well, yeah,
They're killing
a
they're killing
scalar wave.
the magnetic energy and turning it like as I think it means.
Well, scalar
Um,
is not magnetic. You have to understand this. Scalar is not magnetic. See, Tesla was working on this new type of power when he was working at Colorado Springs,
mhm,
and it is a transverse magnetodielectric. Okay, it's an impulse wave.
mhm,
So you have DC, which is a straight line.
mhm,
You have AC that goes up and down in the waveform. Okay, now a scalar or a magnetodielectric wave or an impulse wave comes along and it pulses. Now, the significance of this is the way the power propagates from A to B is not in a waveform or in a square wave or whatever. It's an instantaneous propagation. So the transfer of power from A to B is instantaneous.
Meaning it's bypassing all physical things, right?
Right. It's
Right.
it's basically bypassing space time.
Yeah. And
So
so, would you say that the
so
electromagnetic energy we use
no,
is a
there is no
decayed version?
magnetic.
No, the stuff that we use for running our refrigerator, it's
Right.
electromagnetic energy. That
Right.
is a decayed version of chi or scalar waves.
Right. No. See, when you get into the electromagnetic waves, you're now under constraints of the speed of light. They cannot exceed the speed of light. Where the Tesla scalar magnetodielectric is twice and some the speed of light. There is no
And
speed limit.
is the rodent coil related to that? In your opinion?
While the rodent coil still has electromagnetics in it. There's
But isn't it the difference just that the Teslas used AC to move the voltage up past 100,000 volts?
well, yeah. For one thing, yeah, it works in a very high potential. Okay, when you're working at high potential with that, you're also working with no magnetic core. So the magnetic induction is only limited to the density of the wire itself.
We talked
Okay,
about that before. Yeah.
right. The second you add a core to it, now you got Hertzian power, cycles per second. All right, you have constraints now. You have this barrier that you can only go within that barrier. When you're in the scalar transverse magnetodielectric, what Tesla was working at, there was no speed limit, which is mind blowing to even think that. So basically, in layman's terms, I could have a real time conversation between me and you. If I were sitting on Mars right now, we'd be having the same kind of conversation. It'd be in
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah. And I could take
See,
it. I could take my racing drone off and send power and signal to the end of the universe in real
that's
time,
right, and
right?
beyond, and beyond.
Yes.
So
Okay.
speed of light varies. It's been proven that speed of light is not consistent. It's
Okay.
not a continuous speed. It's 186,900 miles per second. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Pretty
the
fast.
transverse magnetodielectric is
What do you mean
190. Hold
transverse?
on, it's a transverse wave, like an impulse wave. All right.
Okay. Okay.
So speed of light is 186,900 miles per second. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we know what that speed is. It does vary a little bit. The transverse, what Tesla was working on, is 196,800 miles per second pi over 2.
Right. 17 times.
Over 17 times faster than light.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
try to wrap your head around that for a second. That
It's
is
immune to
freaking,
magnetism.
it's immune to basically the need to actually travel through space anymore. What it
Right.
does is when you're able to create, say, a spacecraft that can use a transverse magnetodielectric impulse wave, what Tesla was working at, instead of traveling, you have space time like this, instead of traveling linearly, if you have the transverse wave, now you're going to bend it and you're going to be jumping from point to point.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to eliminate that whole time space now. You're jumping through a dimension.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's when you're able to do dimensional travel,
Right.
which is instantaneous. So whatever these aliens are coming to us and visiting us, they've mastered this.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and this is what I've been really wanting to ask for a long time. Let's say as like Isaac Newton or even like Mike Faraday. No, let's just say Mike Faraday's great grandfather. Could you, taking primitive means from the Dark Ages, make a Tesla coil or a rodent coil? Especially if you had information from a source, an angelic or extraterrestrial, a fourth dimensional being could give
Well,
you this knowledge. Could you go with no equipment given by him and go into the woods and make a holy grail? Could you go and make some sort of piezoelectric coil device?
right.
Now I'm talking about
See,
before Leonardo. I'm
yeah.
talking about at least
So
1300. Could you
it
do it?
would be yeah, it would basically boil down to the available technology of the day. Okay, if back
You,
in those days they had wire, okay,
yep.
then you could start experimenting. Now we did
They
know
they had
that
wire, right?
well up to well to a certain point. Like I think I guess you would say I'm not sure the exact time period, but it would have to be right around the Bronze Era
Right. What if
that
you
they
made wax a wax coil and put a ceramic uh, you put ceramic around the wax, melt the wax out, and you could use vinegar as the wires instead of copper.
you could use water as a wire, sure,
Yeah,
but
or
see
vinegar or lemon juice or
any kind of liquid. But the thing is, see, they would initially need a power source. Now we do know that they
that's my
created the
question.
so initially they had to have a power source to start any of this stuff. So they knew in the air there was electricity. They've seen it, the static electricity, just by rubbing, certain materials on your clothes will create
Amber.
static electricity. So they finally eventually came up with rubbing silk on amber,
Yeah, which means
which
electron in
created,
Latin, right?
right.
It's my
So,
chick's daughter's name.
so basically from that point, they realized there's a median here that we have to learn. We have to figure out this is like magical. And I'm able to create it by rubbing a piece of cloth on amber. And I'm creating this angelic, like if you do it at nighttime with no light and you pull it off, you should see the light it makes. It's quite amazing, actually.
It's
Quite
pretty trippy.
pretty trippy,
And amber,
especially to a person that lived 5,000 years ago.
yeah, yeah, amber gives off negative charge, and the quartz. This is quartz sand. I
Yeah,
literally
I have
cracked
a
this
lot.
out of a
I
big
have a lot of
piece of quartz.
quartz.
Yeah, if you smash it into sand, the pyramid has a room filled with this, which makes me
Yeah,
wonder: does piezoelectric stuff? Um,
yeah, yeah.
you're playing with piezoelectric stuff. What about
Yeah,
sand? Each piece of this is piezoelectric, right?
that's right. And if you hit it, there's going to be electrical charge coming off it.
You're right. In fact, let me just share something real quick, just so that people that don't know what we're talking about
Hmm.
can see this. Man,
See, a lot of this was lost technology, and a lot of this started coming back around the last 200 years. So in
hmm
200 years, our when you think about it in perspective to lost civilizations that were around thousands of years, us as our generation, I would say, we made huge advancements in technology in 200 years. You just look back, you know,
yeah,
since Faraday came along and you had Tesla, you had Steinmetz, you had Stubblefield. These were the real godfathers of electricity. Even Ben Franklin, if you want to go back that far,
wizards. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they were getting the fundamental understanding of the actual medium itself. How
Okay.
do you
Well, hey,
get it?
let me play something really quick.
Sure.
Okay, so I feel like these shapes matter. Like here, you got the rodent coil.
Yeah.
I put my this is caduceus coil. I call it.
Right.
It's they're literally spiral together,
Yeah.
and so if these things cancel out, we have St. Elmo's fire. So these dudes on the show on Bernie's show are making these coils hover. This is
Yeah.
basically a star coil smashed into a star.
Yeah.
And I believe that the difference between the toroid and these star coils is that they have these pointy edges, which is the reason spiders can fly. Let me show you this real quick.
Mm.
You know spotting flying spiders?
I've heard of them. I haven't actually seen one.
Let me show you this. And this is St. Elmo's fire, which is
Yeah.
that we have left regarding the flying spider. Again, our friend Charles Darwin will help us to understand what is happening. Because during a storm in one of his trips he described the situation as follows. Everything is in flames, the sky with lightning, the water with luminous particles, and even the very masts are pointed with a blue flame.
Yeah.
This last sentence refers to a phenomenon known as St. Elmo's fire, which, hundreds of years ago, was considered a sign of good fortune for sailors during a storm.
Yeah.
It may sound like fiction, but this phenomenon is real, although technically it was not fire, but electricity. In fact, to this day this phenomenon can be seen in situations where there are large potential differences between an object and the environment.
and the spider's arms are no different as you're
For
about to see,
example, in high voltage pylons, the Tesla coils, or in the case of St. Elmo's fire, the flagpoles of a ship during a storm. An interesting fact about this phenomenon, known today as the corona discharge effect, is that there are certain areas that are more prone to this occurrence, which generally are pointed locations. And from here on out I will be supported by Erica Morley and Daniel Roberts' scientific paper on how electric fields cause ballooning in spiders, as they finished unraveling these mysteries in 2018. They conducted a series of related tests, and the first of these was to understand how the corona effect is generated in nature. And, as you can see in this simulation, even in a tree, concentrations of electric fields are generated at the tips of the highest branches, which would explain to you why the spiders were looking for high places before they started flying, and also how they became electrically charged without rubbing against anything. And not only that, in this research they were able to demonstrate that by means of small hairs located on the legs, also known as trichobothria, these spiders were able to detect not only air currents, but also electric fields. Since they reacted in a different way depending on the stimulus. And as if that were not enough, in this study they put the spiders in a controlled environment without any air current, but with a controlled electric field, and the spiders managed to initiate flight without problems. Even by alternating the electric field they were able to have the spider levitate indefinitely, proving without any doubt that these spiders were electrically charged in order to fly. And with that we now know everything about how spiders fly. There is only one thing left to add. I give infinite thanks to Guillermo Larios from the...
Yeah, very cool. So basically what's happening is you got a electrostatic charge. Like
Sorry, give me 2
the higher...
seconds.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 sec. I gotta cut the audio off on the other screen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically what's happening is, we live on a capacitor, okay? So the upper ionosphere is the upper plate. We're in the dielectric median, and then we're standing on the ground plate. So we're basically in the center of where all the action happens. So when conditions are just right, you get lightning, correct?
Yes.
So when you have amount of static discharge or energy that's being trapped between the median of the earth ground and the clouds, say, that's the space, we're at the very, very small, minute height relative to the planet. We're basically like the thickness of a piece of paper relative to the atmosphere. So we're very close. We're right in the middle of where the dielectric field is generated. So when the conditions are just right, you get the St. Elmo's fire, you get the static discharge, which will happen on these spiders, which will ultimately, in the end, allow them to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also on airplanes, too, if they fly near say, an active volcano, and they sometimes will fly into the plume of dust that's being spewed out from the volcano. They will also experience the same almost fire effect. This has happened several times
Yes.
on Indonesian jetliners that were
Yes, I
flying
have a video of
through.
that actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So it's a very real phenomenon. It just like the one that blew up in the Philippines a couple of years ago. That volcano actually climbed it with my wife because she's from there. Um,
Oh man.
yeah, so
Holy
we
shit.
climbed that volcano. So when that volcano blew up, they still have footage on YouTube of it. It's the Taal volcano, Taal volcano, or they call it
Mhm.
Taal volcano. The plume of smoke that it generated into the sky, you should see the electrostatic discharge coming off this thing.
Why
It
would a volcano
was
cause that?
amazing. Well, it's because it's creating that differential difference between the ground and the ionosphere, and because those charged
With heat or
particles,
what?
well, the heat would help it because it's coming from the Earth, so those particles that are going in the air are charged already, and
Oh,
now you're injecting that up into the upper atmosphere. You're gonna have the light show like you've never seen, and there's
huh.
videos of it on YouTube, and
Okay, so
you
what are
should.
your thoughts on anti-gravity? Are they related to St. Elmo's fire?
Well, I truly believe it is. Well, Townsend Brown, he pretty much proved that it is um, electrogravitics. Now everybody says no, it's ion drive and all this crap. Well, a lot of people don't know that Townsend Brown was doing these experiments in a vacuum chamber. So the ion drive theory basically goes out the window now, because he's able to levitate those little craft that he was making by hitting it with very, very high voltage, very low current, and they're levitating in a vacuum. Well,
That
the
doesn't
only
count.
thing,
You
right?
could levitate stuff in space. That's a vacuum, right?
Well, that's a vacuum, but if you're able to levitate in a chamber on the planet, the only way in most Newtonian science will think that it's an ion drive, but it's not. So if it is able to levitate and actually push off something in a vacuum chamber where there is no air, no ions, nothing, and it has propulsion, that means there is something else going on.
I see.
Okay, so his in basically what I'm saying is, if he were to take his craft that he built and put him in outer space, they would move.
Yeah, because there's something else, right?
There is another force that it is acting upon.
What is that? Your opinion?
I think it's gravity control. I think it is a form of gravity control that it's able to basically find the universal grounding point of being able to push off something that's not even there. So whatever that field it's creating, it's able to actually push itself off of the ether itself.
Hmm. Have
Because
you seen
ether,
the rodent coil video that I was playing? Do you ever see how he walks it away from it with it powered off and it still keeps spinning that ball?
yeah, because it's creating a huge field. He's creating like an electrostatic field, like say, like the Tesla plasma balls. Well,
Yeah.
they'll create a pretty big field. If you got those things running long enough, you'll fill a room up with charged particles. And if you have a light,
What if it were like let's say I powered a drone, a
yeah,
little photography drone, and it were powered off a coil, and I took that drone off the original coil, and it were still powered. They were identical. Would I be able to go only within the meter of that field, or would I be able to
yes,
go?
yeah,
Would it be
yeah.
scalar
It
waves that
has no.
would
It would
deliver
have
the force?
to no. It would have to be within that field. So if you generate a field that's 10 feet in diameter,
Mm-hmm.
your drone would be able to have power within 10 feet of that.
Jeez, what is he using to make a 10-foot diameter field. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try mine just as a speaker, and I'm gonna put a tone generator with 432, and I'm gonna start with 2 volts,
Well, it's an
and I'm gonna
electrostatic
go
field.
up from there.
So, see, when you disturb an electrostatic field, all the ions, all the protons, all the neutrons, everything that's in the space around us is now being excited. It's like being tickled. I call it tickling. So when you tickle that flux that's in the space around us within a certain confines, so like in a closed room, it works better. In an open space like outside, not so much because it needs a lot more power to draw in and excite all the particles that are within the space around it. Okay, so always having a device like this in a confined space works way better because you're
Yeah.
able to charge all the particles within that space. Now, I did some experiments years ago where I did exactly just that, and I was getting some time dilation. I was actually altering time
Right.
to a small degree.
We should
So,
start doing that again and measuring it. Right.
well, you have to
I heard you
have.
talking about this before. You did it to a large degree at one point, an accident, right?
Well, it happened totally by accident because I was able to create a lot of flux in a confined space. I was actually doing it underground in a basement. So it was like a natural Faraday cage that I was in. So I had the device running for at least over an hour, and I probably charged every single electron, proton, everything that was in that room. And then I got the pulse motor out and a Faraday disc, and I started spinning those. So
I
now I
don't
was
know what a
starting.
Faraday disc is. Is
Yeah,
it like
it's
a
basic.
Tesla?
No, it's the very
Or like?
first it's the very first electrical generator that was designed by Michael Faraday himself. So
Okay,
that's
I have to look
basically
into that.
what's yeah. Look up the Faraday disc, and it's a copper disc and has a magnet on either side of it. And as you spin that wheel, the cavitation of the what do you call um, the field that's created in between the disc and the magnets, it creates a cavitation and it generates a
Black hole.
current,
Yeah,
right? It creates
I
a current. So,
I have to
but
look into that,
anyways, I
but I
built one of
will.
those. I built one of them. It works well. The only problem is it lacks with the voltage. You could create a lot of current, but very little voltage. So, anyways, to make a long story short, I
Oh,
had those
that's
two.
weird.
So,
Okay,
um,
okay, I'll look into that later.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what I was saying is, I had these two discs spinning, and all the charged particles in the room start spinning. And when you start spinning electromagnetic fields or currents or a static median, things start to happen. Really strange things start to happen. So
Hmm.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go any
Well,
further on that.
let me ask this. Let me ask this: is a Faraday cage necessary? Is it like a ring of salt? You
Well,
know?
you have to create a barrier. You have to create this barrier to confine the energy that you're disturbing within that space. So
Let's
when
do an
you do,
experiment. Let's build a giant underground. You know, is that
yeah,
what it's going to be for us?
underground works better because you're using the earth as actually the walls of the cage, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the smaller the space, the easier it is to charge. Okay, the larger the space, the longer it'll take to charge the particles in that space. But if you can get them really charged and then you start rotating them, spinning them, that's when you'll start getting some very strange effects, to say the least.
Oh. I wonder if you could just dissolve a whole lot of water vapor into the air in a closed room and
You
ionize the
could do,
water vapor.
yeah, you could. Well, basically, in essence, that's what you're doing. You're ionizing the air.
Huh.
If you got like say like a Tesla coil fired off, you're generating all this charged particle flux that's in the space, and that will just keep accumulating, especially if it's a small space, to the
Hmm.
point where the room is so charged that if you can get that charge spinning,
Yeah.
then you could get time dilation, you could see anti-gravity effects, And that's exactly what John Hutchison was doing.
Right.
Okay.
Man, I really want to do another discussion on just the time travel aspect because I'm watching this Donnie Darko movie. It has all
Yeah.
kinds of occultic things. It's I guess it's an imitation of the Bhagavad Gita. It's an ancient story, and there's all kinds of these weird things in it. And I actually bought the book. You could actually buy the book that's in the movie, The Philosophy of Time Travel by Roberta Sparrow, and it
Yeah.
talks about talking to yourself in a different time dimension.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I've done. I've actually visited myself 14, actually over 20
yes,
years before
we
I
talked about
had,
that before. I
yeah, I
remember.
had a, yeah, my liver story.
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, what happened was I went and visited myself in the past and warned myself 14 years before this event was going to happen that I had a health issue. And I said, take care of your liver. And this gentleman looked very familiar. And at the time, I didn't realize I was looking at myself 14 years down the road. Or actually, further than that, it was almost 20 years down the road.
man.
So I seen this individual. I remember how he looked, and then I just kind of passed it aside. I didn't think about it again. So the day came up when I went to the doctor and I got my test results. Before he said I had a problem with my liver, that event popped back in my head and said, "Take care of your liver." And when he said I got a liver disease, my jaw almost hit the freaking ground. And
Yeah,
then, so, anyways, the second I got into the car after the doctor's appointment, I'm almost having a nervous friggin' breakdown. I'm going, who was that dude? Who was that guy that warned me about this? Because I remember the event. It popped right back into my conscious again. I'm going, who was that guy? And I'm going, no, 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 no. And then I start thinking, was that me? And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like fighting with myself. I'm like talking to myself in the car driving home from the doctors. And I'm going, no, 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 no. There's no way. I went back in time to warn myself of this health problem. And now I find out that it's actually real. So that day, not not the fact that I had a problem with my liver, uh, it rocked my world.
yeah.
I'm starting to think, what has happened here? What there is. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this event was real. That I went back in time to warn myself of this fate with my liver. What is coming down the road that is going to take me back in time to warn myself?
Yeah, there's another one of you coming, right?
Was
With
it
another
me?
message,
Was it
right?
me from the multiverse? Was it me from another time frame, like a mirrored version of my time that I
Was it
was
a
able?
selfless version of you that cared about you from another dimension where
No, it was
it was
me.
irrelevant?
No,
No,
it
oh,
was
no,
me.
no. Yeah, what I'm saying is maybe it was a selfless version of you. For example, if I could send the winning lottery numbers to myself back in time,
Yeah,
it wouldn't affect me on this timeline, but it would me being selfish or selfless and giving to me in an alternate universe. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
See, the thing was, I knew when I was going back in time that I had this device. It worked. I was able to go back in time to any period I wanted to, and I wanted to see myself back in time, back in the early 2000s.
Right.
So I was able to do this, but I said, okay, I gotta be very careful what paradox I'm going to create.
Yeah.
Okay, because the implications could be really, really, really bad if you don't play it right. So when I went to the drugstore that day where I saw myself back in 2004, I had my baseball hat on. I could describe exactly the way I looked right now back in 2004.
Where were you
Okay.
from this viewpoint? Were you at
In
home?
What, when this event happened?
Hmm.
No, I met myself at the drugstore. I was at the drugstore picking some stuff up, and that's when my twin came in.
Oh, like a long
So,
time drugstore.
yeah, it's a Shoppers Drug Mart. I was grabbing some
Somewhere you
stuff.
would, somewhere you knew you were 10 years before.
Sorry.
Somewhere that you knew you had been going for 10 years.
Oh yeah, like yeah, it's in the
Yeah,
same town where I live right now.
yeah,
It's in the same town. So
right.
I went in there and I go, okay, the first thing I gotta do is I gotta find out what time I'm in. So the first thing, yeah,
Newspaper.
I already knew exactly. That's exactly what I did. I went to the newsstand, picked up the paper, and I'm going, holy shit,
Wow.
I'm in 2004. And I go, okay, where am I? Meaning my real self. So I start looking around and I look near the chip aisle, and there I am, standing right in front of me.
Oh.
Okay, that's how I looked in 2004. So, anyways, I go, okay, I got to create a paradox here, but it's got to be something that is going to be a positive outcome, not a negative. And I got to be very careful on what I tell myself.
And for me, I'm thinking if what this happens, sometimes I look like a bum and I just got out of bed and I'm going into a store, and sometimes I'm well dressed, in a suit. Um, are you going to be dressed the same way? You know what I mean?
The
Are you
the
afraid of
way
yourself because you're
yeah, there's certain features on my body that were exactly the same. I had the goatee mustache. I had my Mitsubishi baseball hat on. I wear a vest a lot. I had the vest on. So basically, exactly the way I look right now is what I saw back in 2004. This guy that came in and approached me and said, you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you, so don't bother to ask. But all I could say to you is down the road, you're going to have a problem with your health, and it has to do with your liver. Don't ask me how I know this information. Keep it in the back of your head, and hopefully you play your cards right and you won't have this problem. And he asked me, or me, asked myself, I
right,
said, am I going to die from this? And I said, that's entirely up to you.
which means yes if you don't do something.
Right. So I was very careful and kind of cryptic on the way I was presenting this. So I said to him, I go, don't ask me how I know this information, but as a friend, keep it in the back of your head. And that was it. I walked away. And then, obviously, 10 years down the road, I go to the doctor. And before the doctor told me what was wrong with me, I already knew it. And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Man,
It's like my whole life got flipped completely upside down.
yeah,
Completely upside down. It was like the most I don't know if you could call it traumatic. In a way, it was because
absolutely. Well, yeah, it's upsets your paradigm. Even if you believe it, now you know it. You
like
know.
I just went back and forth between two different worlds in a friggin' instant. Like my life got rocked that day. I'm like, what the hell happened? I can remember the guy at the friggin' Shoppers Drug Mart.
I
Who
can
was
almost
this
guarantee
guy?
you, dude.
And
You
then
saw
I'm
both.
driving, and I'm driving home, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm starting to recall that memory and what happened when I saw that guy at the Shoppers. The freaking guy was me. And then I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown at the wheel. I go, that was me. That warned me. Like even
Yeah.
now, me talking about it kind of chokes me up because it was that, whew,
Right.
heavy, man.
Well, that
I'm
means
like,
that you know
so
that
I'm
means
thinking,
the ascended you is really close to this this world. Right?
well, it
Likely,
shows you that
maybe.
times, well, it just shows you. that time and space don't exist.
Right.
It
Right.
does not exist.
Yeah. And maybe
Now
that's how
try now
Jesus.
tr- now
Maybe
try
that's how
to wrap.
Jesus did by was in two places at one time, allegedly. Right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, try to wrap your head around that for a second. Time and space
Yeah.
does not exist.
Right. Yeah.
Now that completely throws a whole new paradigm to your existence.
Yeah. It
So
only exists in the presence of matter, right? So the more physical you are, the more it exists. And yeah, right?
it is so confusing to think that, okay, what event just happened here to me now that it jarred that memory back, and I realized it was friggin' me that told me about my health ailment, and how that makes me think. I'm driving home and I'm trying to work out in my head exactly what happened, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if this means I went back in time, warned myself, that event hasn't happened yet. That means
Not in
I'm
this
going.
reality.
No,
Maybe it won't.
no, no, but it did happen. It did
Yeah.
happen.
But that was the you from a different timeline. Maybe.
Exactly.
That
So
was the
what
you that
happened
died
was,
on your
so
deathbed. Like you went back in time and was like, hey, fucking fix your fucking issues. You're gonna die. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it was,
Let's say you in universe A said, look, I just got diagnosed with liver failure. If I don't figure this out,
yeah,
you at the moment of truth had to you bypassed time and
yeah,
space. You spoke to yourself,
yeah,
and that you may be dead. No,
yeah. So
right?
basically, what
Possibly,
happened? Yeah.
possibly.
So to add to the story, to kind of end the story, I realized that day. And this was about 2014 when I found out about my liver condition. Um, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if I went back in time and warned myself, okay, up to this point, I didn't go back in time. So that means me going back in time has not happened yet. So I predicted to myself that day when I was driving home in the car that there would be an event down the road, don't know when it's going to be, where I'm actually going to go back. The actual time travel event will actually happen. So I realized at that point I was going to go back in space and time, or whatever you want to call it, and make this event happen in 2004. It hasn't happened yet, so I'm thinking, okay, what the heck have I been working on lately? Because I knew I was in the energy stuff. So I continued my way for the next 7, 8 years, and it came up to about 20. Yeah, it was just on the eve of when the pandemic hit.
And
Three.
which
It was
means 7 8 years. So from
2014,
20
2020.
yeah, okay, yeah, so 2014 and 2020.
Right. So my actual time travel experience happened January 2020, about 3 months just before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
So I was Friday morning, dropped my wife, daughter off at school. I'm at home. At that time, I started dabbling in um, a lot of meditation. At that time,
Hmm.
I was really getting into the chi, the prana, the deep meditation, the outer body experiences. I was studying um, remote viewing. At that time, I was doing the Russell Targ training program.
Hmm.
So I was already gearing my brain up. So I decided to flake out on the couch, have a little cat nap before work because I worked an afternoon shift. So I laid down, and that's when I had the lucid dream of going back to 2004 and warning myself of this event. So I wake up from the sleep, or I guess you could say meditation, and up to that point, I wasn't thinking about that event back in 2014. It was out of my mind. It like slipped my memory or whatever. But I woke up from the dream. I go, oh my God. Oh my God. I just did the time travel thing. And that flashback of 2004 and the doctor's office 2014 just came right back to me again.
Were you consciously trying to do that?
No, not at all. I had no
That's
idea when
creepy.
I had no idea it was going to happen. Up to, up from 2014 to 2020, that whole event that happened those years ago was completely out of my mind. I totally forgot about it.
Have you seen Donnie Darko? This is exactly what happens. Have you seen
Yeah,
Donnie Darko?
no, no.
It is exactly what happens. You should watch the
So
director's cut.
now
Uh,
let me add to the let me add to the
okay.
creepiness of this. You want to hear
Okay.
creepy? Okay, so I'm
I
having a
don't think
nervous.
this is creepy.
No,
I guess it is
anyways,
creepy. But
so
okay, go
anyways,
ahead.
I'm having this like miniature nervous breakdown. I go, oh my god,
Yeah,
oh my god, oh my
absolutely.
god. I go outside. I haul down 3 cigarettes in a row. I come back downstairs. At that time, I was living in a basement apartment, and I said, okay, I got to get my shit together. I got to get ready for work. So as I was getting my lunch together, I decided to throw on YouTube. And guess what pops up in the very first thing in the search? Like, when you turn on YouTube, you get a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
random
You get the
selection.
home. Yep.
Very first video shows up, time travel.
Yeah,
And I just looked up at the sky and go, you're kidding me, right? Like,
yeah.
really? You're kidding me right now?
Click on
And
this for sure.
no,
Click on
no,
that.
it just the
Yeah,
fact that a random a load up of YouTube, very first thing that comes up is time travel. After I just had this experience 5 minutes before that,
right.
like, how does that happen? How does
It's
that happen? That does not happen by coincidence. I don't believe in that.
this is all a dream we're having. You're realizing it's a dream. That's the thing, right?
Well,
Has to be.
it's I think reality has multifacets to reality, and
Yeah,
time and space have no constraints whatsoever. So you will get these shifts in time and space where you're able to go back in time or witness something back in time, which at that time will seem 100% real to you, but you weren't actually there,
right.
right? Because you could have several versions and several dimensions of the same reality that are offsetted from your original timeline. So I think what happened with me was that shift was over almost, well, almost 15, 16 years, a shift in time space, which doesn't exist. It's the same reality, but it got shifted because we live in this multifaceted existence.
Um,
It's just
let's
it's
say
mind
no.
blowing.
Let's say for a second that you had never investigated anything spiritual. Would it still have done that? Let's say you had never even tried to understand the nature of time travel or the universe. Would you have died of liver failure?
Well, no, like I
Possibly.
wouldn't have. I if really didn't take care of myself, I probably would have because it was a dietary problem
No,
with
but
my liver, right?
I'm saying if there were no time travel facility, which probably happened because you were open to it, right? Let's say you were a shallow person, like many people I know and you know, who uh, did you save yourself?
I think it happened because of the series of events that led me down this road in this direction. So I think I was already open to the possibility of time travel already. Um, but to me, I'm a kind of a cryptic person as far as trying to. I like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. Um, If something happens for real, it happens for real. So I truly, honestly believed after I woke up from the dream in 2020 that what I experienced was very real. It wasn't a coincidence or just a crazy dream, because of all the stuff that led me up to this date. Because at that time I was already experimenting with rotating electromagnetic frequencies, all the stuff that, all the science that does lead to a time travel. We haven't actually accomplished it, but we're aware of the possibilities of what you have to do to actually do it.
I feel like we have.
So,
You did, but we
well,
don't have it. We don't have it repeatable, right?
well,
It's not
I've
an
done it.
exact science.
Well, I've done it through a different medium. Okay, the medium that I traveled through was the collective consciousness.
But can you do it again?
Oh, probably could, yes.
Right. But it's scary, right? It,
Well, it's scary when it first happens, when you're trying to make sense of it. If there's actually any proof that it does exist. And after I started studying, Russell Targ and the research he was doing, I started to realize that this is real. Um,
mhm.
there is a real possibility, not only remote view from one space to another, but also to remote view in time space. So I was able to go back in time, not knowing that I think personally every single person has that capability of doing it. If you start training your mind to do it, you can do it.
Yeah, that's what Ego Swan said. And I know
And
about all
that's
about Russell Targ, and I know about the other dude. What's his name? Um,
Pratt Price and Ingo Swan and
the
all
other
those
dude at
guys.
Stanford. Yeah, Russell
Yeah, Ingo
Targ
Swan.
and
Well, there was
yeah,
Russell Targ, Pat Price, and Ingo
yeah,
Swan.
Pat Price exactly.
And the other guy that's still alive right now, well, Ingo Swan's dead now. Pat Price was murdered.
Was he
Um,
really? Oh, that
yes.
sucks.
Oh, yeah, he was murdered. Pat Price? Oh, yeah. He was murdered by the Russian.
And who was the other dude at Stanford? It was Russell Targ and the other dude that was also a physicist.
Yuri Giller.
Yeah,
He's from
yeah, it was Yuri
Israel.
Giller. Yeah,
Yeah, he was actually exported out of the country because after that incident with the magnetometer, the CIA kicked him out of the country,
they don't like you discovering their secret facilities, do they? You
and
know,
and also
it's
tampering
too
with it.
bad.
Yeah, they have a little issue with that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's their
yeah,
job. Whatever.
but anyways, they realized at that time the science was real, and what Ingo Swan did was to them absolutely impossible, but he did it,
Yeah.
and that scared the crap out of them, knowing that
What do
somebody
you think
can go
about
in
the?
with their mind.
What do you think about the Russian chick? The one that sparred all this on in the first place, Maria
No,
Govinovich.
no, she was Czech. She was Czechoslovakian girl.
But she was working for the Russians, right? Um.
No, she was working for the Nazis.
Oh, you're shitting
Yeah,
me.
yeah, she was working for the Nazis.
Oh, I
She
didn't know
was
that.
she was doing some secret remote viewing and connection with aliens for the Third Reich.
I don't mean the real chick. I'm talking about the Russian who could move balls and stuff under a glass with her mind. You know what I'm talking about?
If you have her name, I would probably know. But
Oh gosh.
if you're talking
Allegedly
about,
she would attack fish and kill animals, small animals with her mind.
well,
And
oh yeah, there was another one. There's a movie.
yeah,
What was it called?
I think she was Russian or Ukrainian, and she was able to she was alleged. It was during the Cold War, so who knows if it was fake or not, you know?
Yeah, they were doing
But
this remote viewing where they were trying to get remote viewers to actually blow the hearts up of goats.
yes, yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And they made stupid
that was
movies,
real.
which is
Well, it was
ridiculous.
basically like a psychic assassin.
Right.
What they were trying to develop.
We know they must have tried that too, right?
Oh yeah, they were working on that stuff. It would scare you to the core what they were doing back in that day. Like
I feel like the
really
people
crazy stuff.
that are open enough to do this don't want to kill people. You know what I mean? The people that can attain this sort of mindset, they're not going to be assassins. You know what I
Well,
mean?
see, the problem is, back in those days, you have to understand that the evilest people on the planet are into the stuff that we're interested in, but their
Right,
intentions were demonic.
right,
Their intentions were of an evil purpose,
yeah,
which even makes it even more frightening to think,
yes, and they have
right?
and they have all the money too. Imagine the Nazis. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, Adolf Hitler was all into seances. He was into witchcraft. He was
Yeah,
into remote viewing.
yep.
He had Arena Orsic. She was the psychic medium. She was probably one of the best psychic mediums. She's
That's who I need to know about. I don't know her name. I know who you're talking about though. She was part
yeah,
of the Vril Society,
yeah,
right?
the Vril Society. Now, you know where Vril came from?
No.
That is the energy source of what the aliens use for their spacecraft. It's called Vril.
Is it chi, prana, and
Well,
ether?
it's
No.
called Vril. They refer to it as Vril, and Vril is the power source of alien technology.
Hmm.
That's why she called it Vril Society.
And then she vanished.
So,
She
so
was pretty too, right?
she was apparently gorgeous.
Yeah, and she just vanished,
Yeah.
right?
So,
What do
yeah,
you think about that?
she was from the Czech Republic at
Uh,
that time.
I dated a
So,
chick before,
yeah,
briefly.
yeah. Like my father's parents are from Slovakia, and my mother's Croatian. So I have the
Hmm.
Eastern European background to me. So,
Huh. Huh. But
but
you're Canadian.
I was born in Canada. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But my
I
parents
am
are.
Cajun, which technically means Canadian or Acadian. I'm French Canadian
Like
technically,
yeah, like
if you consider it
my
that.
father was born in Quebec, but his parents are from Slovakia. My
Hmm.
mother was born in the old country. Her parents were Slovak and Croatian, but my mother was actually born in Serbia back in that time. When she was born, the Second World War was just ending in 1945. So her parents were in transit because of the war, trying to stay in the safe areas with the Nazis all over the place.
You're shitting
And
me.
my
How
mother,
did they end
yeah,
up in Canada?
well, that came later. They came here in 1958. They escaped the communist regime in Yugoslavia,
This is your mom.
and my mother and her parents.
Sorry.
So
Uh,
they escaped. They escaped Yugoslavia under the Russian rule because at that time Russia took over the Yugoslavia, right? So it was
right.
pretty rough living. So they finally escaped, and they had two choices on the boat: go to Australia or go to Canada. So they chose Canada because it was a lot closer.
Way better.
Yeah,
Australia is so far. Yeah, yeah.
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 Australia is a long walk, right?
Yeah, and it's not any better. Canada's way
Well,
better. I'd rather live in Canada than Australia right now.
Australia is very similar to Canada. We're both a British Commonwealth country. Our dollar is probably at par with Australian dollars, so we're
Yeah,
very
Canada
similar in a
isn't a
lot of ways.
prison colony though. You
We're under the likes
know?
of Trudeau, so yeah,
That's
the
true.
ch-
That's
uh,
true.
tr-
What a dickhead he
well,
is.
he is a total abomination. He is a
Absolutely.
total abomination. Oh
Hey,
God,
none of the politicians in the U.S. have been any better than him forever.
oh
So, you
God.
know,
There's not
you
much
know,
hope.
there is, I think. I think
I'm
there
more of
is.
a conservative than a liberal. Well, I'll leave it at that. But
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm a
yeah.
libertarian. I just believe that everybody should be free and happy, and
Well, the problem is everything has gone corrupt.
yeah,
Um, Everybody in power in those power positions that control the countries in the world, they've all been corrupt by greed, and yeah, it boils down to Like if you were to talk to one of these tyrants face to face, they might be the nicest guys on the planet.
They are,
But
I bet.
meanwhile, but when you get them in their position of power with the other people in the position of power, it becomes this evil entity.
Yeah. Power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So they say.
So I think we're kind of at the mercy of our own ignorance.
I don't know. Benjamin Franklin always said that the elitists don't have this technology. Faraday and all these guys were not elitists, and he said this is an opportunity for us to get ahead of the elitists. And he
Well,
was
I think
right. And they,
it's just the power brokers, the Wall Street guys, all these cabals, got control of the planet, the monetary system, and put us under this false notion that you guys are living in freedom, when in actual fact we're not living in freedom at all. The only time, see, right now, the way I see it, our situation from day one stems back to energy, and that's what I work in. If you control the world's energy system, you control the world. Period.
yeah,
Everything boils down to who controls the
that's what
power.
Benjamin Franklin figured out, and they didn't know about all these. You know what I mean? The elite
Yeah.
were already in power way before they discovered
Yeah.
alternating current. And,
But yeah,
so he was right, actually.
right.
And
So the two things would be energy and the monetary system. If you control those two entities, you control the planet. All right.
well, you're forgetting about one thing that you've already accomplished that they haven't: time travel.
Well,
The person
who's
who
to
calls
say?
the fourth dimension supersedes all the motherfuckers. Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? See, there's an old saying: "What goes around comes around," and
Yeah.
I think that coming around is coming around pretty damn soon, because
Damn right.
they've been living such we're living under such a demonic control right now, and
Mhm.
they finally realized that whatever they do, they're still gonna lose.
Right.
Apparently, they came up with some AI computer back in 2012. This computer basically outlays the plan of what the elitists want to do versus what's actually going to happen. And every single time, the computer concludes that they're going to lose.
Yeah. This reminds
Okay?
me of Custer's last words, which
Right?
were,
So,
"Where'd all these goddamn minions come from?" You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Right. So basically, this AI computer is telling the elites that it doesn't matter what you do. If you throw a virus at the world or throw a world war at the world, they're still going to lose.
The
They will
collective awareness
never.
wants to be alive. You're right.
Right.
Collectively,
Right.
we are stronger than them.
So what's happening is this collective consciousness has now manifested itself throughout the whole planet, and basically the big secret of the elites is starting to unravel. And more people are getting enlightened, and they're starting to figure out that we've been duped for the last 200 years of history between, it doesn't even matter what border it is now, the whole planet.
Yep.
And this consciousness is now manifesting itself. It's starting to grow, and people are waking up, and people are starting to realize that we've been screwed, and they're hell bent on making us slaves.
Once you get
And
the masses behind this, they're gonna die.
well, see, that's the thing, and that's what the AI program said. It said there are a lot more of them than there are of you.
Yeah, do the
and
math.
be and do the math, and basically that it doesn't matter what you throw at these people, they're going to survive, and your plan's going to foil, it's going to fail. So the elites are now in friggin' panic mode. They just throw the virus at us. The next one's going to be the alien threat. Okay. And then the global collapse of the currency and energy is going to be the next one.
That's their ace in the
Or
sleeve, though. They're gonna use that last at this point, right?
I think personally, what they're going to do is they're going to do a global energy crisis. I see that coming next, and then the very last card is going to be the alien thing and the comet hitting the planet. So, and even von Braun, the head of NASA, the Apollo program, he was actually disclosing this information to his assistant, saying the last card is going to be the alien card. That we're going to get invaded by aliens that are going to want to destroy us. And he says that basically this is all a big lie. So
Werner von Braun.
Yeah.
That's what you get for taking over the Nazi shit and just making.
Well, a lot of people didn't see. This is the thing. This is the thing. Von Braun was a hardcore Nazi. He was SS.
Of course.
And he was running all of NASA. He basically put NASA together.
Yeah, he is NASA.
He is NASA.
Until Elon Musk took it over and did it for 1/10 of the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, I may have to crash, man.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
More I want to talk about. Do you want to do this once a week or something like that? Just me.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
There's so much more.
We could go for hours on this stuff, but
yeah.
We'll try to do more focused stuff. We kind of did a full spectrum of the last two shows, which is kind of cool.
I like how it's going so far.
But we'll kind of like try to segregate certain areas of science that we want to cover, whether it's time travel or my energy devices that I'm working on, or coils,
show,
or
1 hour would be cool because there's so much to talk about,
Yeah. So we'll keep doing the shows. There'll be more times, and I've been doing podcasting for a while now. It's not really what I do. You guys can follow me on my YouTube channel and see what I'm up to, and I'm doing some pretty very cool stuff.
But I only have 2 followers.
Yeah.
Maybe I may have 5 now.
I even just put it in the description, and you never know who's gonna.
You bet.
Actually,
do you see all the videos I have in this description? I was planning on playing a whole bunch of videos, and they're all in the description. I already copied and pasted them, and they're all worth watching. And they're all weird science things. But I'd like to do this for sure again soon.
For sure. But just put in the description, put my YouTube channel down, and then anybody over time, anybody who clicks on your show and watches it and sees the link in the description, they can be forwarded to my YouTube channel, which has a lot of great science stuff. Do Adam's motor, I do Gerard Morin device, I do a whole bunch of Tesla stuff. I got a lot of stuff in there that a lot of people find very interesting. So, just check that out, and
Damn right, dude. You rock, man. Have a good night. I will see you.
All right. Thanks, Frank. Okay, take care. Okay, have a good one. Peace.